Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is David Cashman. I'm from SEB Housing, and this is the Affordable Housing Lottery for the units at Traders Row in Salem. We'll do the lottery drawings tonight, and then I'll sort the results and send everyone the waiting list. That'll probably happen by tomorrow morning. I may be able to get them out tonight, but definitely by tomorrow morning if it doesn't happen tonight. So check your emails. Let me just check here. I think everyone, okay, so everyone in the lottery except one household provided an email. So if you provided an email, that's how we'll correspond with you going forward and send you the results so that you know the next steps and where you are on the waiting list. It looks like there's one household who did not provide an email, so I will postal email that household and they'll just get the results a little bit later. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on how many households there were for the lottery and the waiting list and how we're going to go about this. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm obviously the only person that can speak out loud, but if you have questions, you can type them in the chat boxes to the right of the screen where you see me. So I'm going to just type something there right now so you can see what I'm talking about. If you ask a question while I'm doing the actual lottery drawing, I may not be able to get to it until I've finished completing the drawing, but I'll answer it afterwards. And I'll also stick around for a few minutes after in case anyone has any questions. Before we get into the drawing, let me just ask, does anyone not remember or not have their lottery application number? That's the number that's going to be in the form of A dot blank blank blank, the blanks being numbers. So it would be, you know, for example, A dot 001 or A dot 005 or A dot 012, what have you. If you know your lottery application number, you don't need to tell me. It's better off that you don't. But if you've forgotten it or you don't have it, please let me know your name, and I'd be happy to look it up for you before we do the drawing so you know what number you're listening for. Let me give you a little bit of information about the lottery, and then we'll get into doing the drawing. So in total, we had 13 completed applications from eligible households. I recognize the application is fairly long and there's a lot of documentation required, so great job on getting through that process. I can tell you there were over 20 households who submitted applications who did not complete the process. So good job on getting to this stage. As you may recall, one of the questions in the application and something that was referenced in the informational materials is that there is a local preference for some of the units in this lottery. 7 of the 13 completed applications were from local preference households, and 6 were not. In total, we're going to have 2 waiting lists. We'll have a waiting list for the 1-bedroom units and a waiting list for the 2-bedroom units. For the 1-bedroom units, there are 7 units in total being made available and 6 total applicants. 7 units total, 6 total applicants, which means everyone who applied for a 1-bedroom unit will be getting to move forward in the next step of this process. Half of those 6 applicants, or 3, qualified for local preference and half did not. For the 2-bedroom units, there are 14 units and 9 applicants. So everyone who applied for a 2-bedroom unit will be moving forward in the next step of this process, which is great. Everyone's going to be moving forward. So really all we're determining here tonight is the order of priority in which households will get to move forward and select units. Sometimes we run lotteries where there are more or sometimes far more applicants than there are available units. And in those cases, there's no guarantee that a household is going to get to move forward and apply for a lease. But in this case, there are more units than there are applicants, which means everyone's going to get invited to move forward. So you can breathe a sigh of relief insofar as that is concerned. Now, on the 2-bedroom list, I said there are 14 units, 9 applicants. You may recall there is priority for larger household types on the 2-bedroom list. Those are the households that we refer to as type 2 households versus type 1 households. As you may recall, when you filled out your lottery application, one of the questions was, are you a type 2 household or a type 1 household? So 7 households out of the 9 on the 2-bedroom list are type 2 households, and 2 out of the 9 are type 1 households. All of those type 2 households, those 7, will be above the 2 type 1 households on the 2-bedroom list. 4 households in total were local preference and 5 were not. And I should say as well that all this information that I'm reviewing, you don't need to write it down or memorize it. I will send it to you when I send around the waiting list after the lottery, which again will either be later on this evening, or if not by then, by tomorrow morning. So you'll have all of this in case you're just sort of generally curious about, you know, the lottery turnout and how many people are on the waiting list. But again, this is just background information for you to have. As there is a local preference, we have to do 2 separate drawings in the lottery. We have to do a local preference drawing for the 7 households who qualified for local preference. I'll do that one first. Then I'll take those households, I'll add them in with the other 6, and I'll draw all 13 out of the box. That will be the general drawing, the second drawing. So there'll be 2 separate drawings, and those will be used to create 2 separate waiting lists. And just remember, the order drawn doesn't necessarily reflect the order on the waiting list, because there are certain priorities we need to give, including for household size for the 2-bedroom units, and in certain cases for local preference. Okay, so please don't watch this and say, I was drawn first, I'm number 1, or I was drawn 4th, I'm number 4, or I was drawn 8th, I'm number 8. Okay, you have to wait till I send you the waiting list to see exactly where you're going to be on the waiting list, because you won't know before then, and frankly, I won't know before then either. Okay, so it is true that as a general matter, getting drawn earlier is better than getting drawn later, but ultimately you don't know where you are on the waiting list, and I don't either until I've sorted the results according to some different factors and priorities. So please wait to get the waiting lists from me, and then you'll see exactly where you are. But again, everyone's moving forward, so that's good. When I send you the waiting list, it will be your lottery application number, not your name. So you just have to find your number on the list. If you were only on one list, you know, if you only applied for a 1-bedroom, you'd be on the 1-bedroom list. If you only applied for a 2-bedroom, you'll only be on the 2-bedroom list. And if you applied for both and were eligible for both, you'll be on both lists, but probably in different places. And so if you're on both lists, you're going to have a choice about which unit you'd prefer to have, a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, and that's probably a choice you'll make after meeting with the leasing office and seeing what's available and what your priority is. When I send around the waiting list with some further information to you, either tonight or tomorrow, I'll provide the lottery, leasing contact info, email and phone. And also, we will provide your contact information to them so that both parties can get together and find a time for you to be invited to go in and complete a lease application and see units and pick the units of your choice. Remember that the value of being higher on a waiting list is that you'll be able to choose from any of the available units on that waiting list. Okay, so the first household on the 1-bedroom list is going to get to choose from any of the 7 units. And then the next household will get to choose from the remaining 6, and the next household from the remaining 5, and so on and so forth. So that's the value of being higher on the waiting list, is you get more options. You're not behind anyone else in terms of choice. Now, important point, everyone has gotten this far. They've submitted the program certification, provided the required documentation. That's great. Remember, SEB Housing has not screened anyone for lease eligibility, where other factors get considered. Things like, you know, what your tenant history might be, or if you have a criminal background, or what your credit looks like, things like that. Okay, so we have not considered those factors. We didn't ask any questions about those things. We didn't collect any documentation relative to those things. Please remember, SEB Housing is an off-site affordable housing lottery agent. So we have screened everyone to make sure that they're eligible for this affordable housing opportunity, but we have not screened anyone to determine if they're lease eligible, which is an entirely distinct and separate inquiry performed by a different party, i.e. the management team, okay, which is Dolben. So the next step, this is step one, applying for the lottery, conducting the lottery, creating the waiting list. This is all happening now. Step two is you will then be put in contact with the leasing office to apply for a lease, and they will evaluate you to see if you meet their lease screening criteria. So please, nobody tell your current landlord or make any permanent plans just yet, okay? Because you're not quite there yet. You still have this next step in the process. But if you are lease eligible, terrific. You can move forward in the final step, which is to ultimately sign a lease, which I'm sure everyone is excited about. Please remember to keep an updated file of your income and asset documentation. It's possible, not definitively, that further documentation could be required. So you just want to have that just in case. Keep in mind as well that in this development, units may not all be coming online at exactly the same time. They may be ready at different times. So that's one of the things you're going to want to be asking the leasing office about as you make a decision about which is your preferred unit, right? Because it's possible that, you know, your preferred unit may actually be the one that's not available right now, but in a month from now or 2 months from now, the leasing office can give you the precise schedule of available units and when they'll be ready. Okay, so that's the background. Everything I just gave you, I will send to you when I send around the waiting list. So don't worry if you missed something or you didn't digest every one of those details. It's really all just background, pretty much all just background information for you. And it will all be sent to you when I send you the waiting list shortly. Okay. And so without further ado, let's get moving forward with the lottery. As I said, there's 2 drawings, and that's because that's how the program requires that we do it. So there's going to be a local preference drawing, and then there will be a general drawing. And these are going to go quickly. I'm only picking 7 numbers out of a box. Then I'll add those in with the other 6, and then I'll pull all 13 out of the box. I know that probably feels a little redundant because the local preference households get picked twice, and that's how the program says we have to do it. So that's how we do it. And then ultimately we'll sort those onto the waiting list. So here we go. So this is going to be the local preference drawing first. Okay. A.002. A.012. A.010. A.001. A.001. A.011. A.011. A.008. A.008. And then last but not least is A.009. A.009. Okay, that was it. quick, like I said. So that was the local preference drawing. Again, we don't know exactly what it means right in this moment, because some of those households may have applied for 2-bedroom units, some may have applied for 1-bedroom units, some may have applied for both, some may be type 2 households, some may be type 1 households. So point is, you don't know and I don't know, but we'll both know soon. Okay, again, I'll get that out either later tonight or tomorrow early on in the day. Okay. And now we're going to do the general drawing. So this will be all 13 households who qualified for the lottery. Shuffling these up a little bit here, and then I'll shake them up once I get them in the box. All right. Okay, first number, A.011. A.011. A.007. A.005. A.005. A.008. A.003. A.010. A.004. A.002. A.013. A.001. A.006. A.009. A.012. All right, that's it. Like I said, it was going to be pretty quick drawing the numbers. I will get to work on sorting these soon, creating the waiting lists. I will send those to you. And as I said before, you'll get those either via email or mail if you didn't provide email. And they'll be ordered top to bottom on both the 1-bedroom and the 2-bedroom. It'll be top to bottom in order. So the number 1 household will be the one at the top. It'll have your lottery application number, which is the A.blank, blank, blank. So you just find your number on the list, and that's where you are relative to everyone else on that list. that's the order you'll be able to choose from units on that list, working with the leasing office. So please expect to hear from us soon. I'll stick around for just a sec here if there are any questions, and if not, we'll be in touch. Thanks everyone for tuning in and for your application for this great opportunity. You got it. All right, I don't see any questions, so thanks everyone. I hope everyone has a great night, and we'll be in touch soon. Good night.